Well, hello everybody. As you know, I've been trying to take everybody along on a trip in the working and building of this barn and the attachment to the side. It's for Mrs. Stedhomer. And we come to a discussion the other day, and Mrs. Stedhomer asked me, how are you going to put the drywall up on the ceiling? And I told her I had planned on maybe renting one of those drywall hoists and using it. And she says, well, why don't you just make one yourself? Okay, there's a lot of things I can do. That's something I've never tried, that's something I've never done, but you know, it kind of put the thought in my head. And I started thinking, you know what, part of what we are all about is recycle, reuse, repurpose, redo, remodel. And I know we've got some scrap wood, scrap lumber. We got some pretty good lumber back here. We got some crappy lumber back here that maybe I could do something. So I started doing some measurements, and I started doing some calculations, some drawings. I think this is something I'm just going to try to do. Now I got other things to do too, and I will do those throughout the times, but right now this just sounds, it's kind of intriguing to me. So here's the drawings that I've got, and I think this is what we're going to do. Let me see if I can get to it so that you can see it. Well, maybe I got too much light. There we go. I'm thinking about making something on this terms where this is a swinging arm and this was a swinging arm, and we have two swinging arms, and when you have swinging arms you got to dance. Oh, excuse me, I was thinking about something else. Okay, wheels underneath the bottom, lift it up, pull that up, be able to move it around, put it where you want to, and do all of this with scrap lumber and hardware. Okay, now that I've totally and completely explained this, I think maybe it's time to get to work. Okay, so the first thing we have to ask is, how do we build this? What size does it need to be? Well, we know we're 96 inches high to the top of the or to the bottom of the ceiling. Well, excuse me, to the bottom of the rafters. So, when you look at the can lights we got there that are hanging a ½ an inch, as well as the electrical boxes for the ceiling fans, they're hanging a ½ an inch below those rafters, so we got to reduce that. Okay, so 96, that would make it 95 and a half. Now, the drywall itself is a ½ inch, so we got to reduce it another ½ inch so we can slide it and scoot it around in there. So now we're down to 95. Now, how are we going to move this? We use wheels. I just happen to have some. Went and measured them just a little bit ago, and they are from the bottom to the top of their thing. They are 3 5/8 inches. So if we take 3 5/8 inches away from 95, the actual structure of this is going to have to be right around 91 3/8 inches. So how big is it got to be? We know it's got to be 91 3/8 inches. But how big? We got a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of drywall. Don't think we need it that big. How about 3 by 5? Is that good enough? 3 by 6? Let's go. Let me go and check my lumber, check my wood, and I'll come back and tell you what I've come up with, because I guess a lot of it has to depend upon the lumber that you have available and the design that you have read, you know, these extensive designs that I have come up with. So let's go and I'll go take a peek at my my lumber supply and see what we can come up with. Be right back. Well, we're getting started. Those right there will be the two uprights on the one end, and this is going to be the base right here. It'll be 5 foot by 3. I debated on the width, but I wanted it to be stable. I can still get in between and all of the other. So we're working at it, and as you can see here, it's got some little earlobes up there that'll be able to put my hinge on. Oh, okay. Come back when we got some more update. Okay, here's where we are so far. That's just the regular base. Now, I'm trying to build this so that it's collapsible, portable, everything else, and right now, four screws, and it's basically all taken apart. Well, at least enough to move. It'll actually end up being 4 screws and a couple bolts, I think, when I get done. And it should be ready to go here shortly. This thing is going together a little better than I thought. I haven't put the wheels on it yet, but I will do that probably the last thing I do after I take all of this apart. Or no, I'll do it so that I can measure and make sure. Okay. Be back in a little bit, and then I'll start explaining everything that I've done. Okay. It's all put together shy of the wheels. I'm going to go up there and show you how it comes down, how it supports itself, and how it can actually work. And then the next part of it will be me showing you how or what it looks like with the wheels on it. Okay, you can see then by putting the drywall there on that sheet, there's a 1/4 of an inch tongue right here that'll hold it. And it's just lifted up, and that should put it exactly the right height once we get the wheels on it. So I'll bring you back after I get the wheels on it, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. Okay, it's on wheels. Moves very, very easily. I'll demonstrate it, and I'll also show you how we will lift it and put it into position. The only thing will be my lifting board is going to have to be modified. We'll figure something out for that. But right now I just have a piece of wood that I will be lifting it with until I get the chalk up. And then we'll more or less see what it really looks like.
Now you got to understand, well, that took me some doing because it's a little wobbly, but Mrs. Stedhomer's going to be out here helping me when it comes to this, so it'll actually work out just a little bit better than that because she'll be there to help maneuver it and whatever. But you did, with the demonstration, you were able to see just how easily it does move around, and I think it's going to work like a charm. Now, to show you how it tears apart will be the next segment here, because I've got a couple more things I want to do to strengthen it and adjust it, and get her going here, and then we'll take her apart and let you see it. And it's exactly the reverse is what we'll do when we get it up in the room. Alrighty, I believe we've got it completed. The only thing left now is a little bit of a modification up here in the corner on both of these for the table, and I'm calling that the table. I'm calling this the stand. This is the prop, and that is the base. Okay, so I have a little modification on both this arm and that arm here so that it doesn't stick up so high. It'll be right. Let me get up here and I'll show you. I got to cut that corner off. That won't be so bad. You can even see, I think, the pencil mark. So let's go over this and explain exactly what we've got. Okay, one thing I have to say, I didn't buy a single piece of wood extra for this, not one. It's all from scrap wood that we have had here. Some of it deck wood, some of it barn wood, but it's all scrap. So to begin with, let's start with the base. The base is made with two pieces of decking board, old decking board, and I know you can tell that. I mounted with it a 2x4 here and a 2x4 for the stand outside. Same here. And you can see I use this as the hinge for the prop. Now, to make it so that it stands correct and stands at a 90, I put these screw boards down, that's what I call them, and cut an angle and ran 2 screws in from this support beam into there after putting it, as you can see there, on the inside of the stand. Now, when it is time, and I will probably have this on a stand so that, or on a tripod so it can be seen, when I start taking this apart, you'll see it comes apart in basically 4 basic pieces, and it'll be very easy to come apart and moved and then reassembled. Now, as understood, I think we got the support piece here to keep it the same width you know, from top to bottom. Easy to do that by putting the supports there and here for it to sit on. Cut that the same length as that down below, and we have it the same. Give these supports here, and we now have something that is fairly rock solid. When it comes to taking this apart, 2 screws here, 2 screws there, 2 screws there, 2 screws on the other side in this way, and those 2 bolts and that whole stand will come off and move, and will be no problem whatsoever to move into the room over there for use. Of course, when I take those 2 bolts off there, that's the only thing that's holding the table on. So that means the table will lift off and carry. And if you've all noticed, I've put a handle on. It makes all the difference in the world, and it sure does make Mrs. Stedhomer a lot happier, because she was so afraid that this was going to fall down on top of my head. The prop. The only thing connecting it is 2 bolts. Now, all 4 of these bolts, those 2 and the 2 up here, I made out of some all thread. I thought I had I thought I had bolts, but I didn't. But I had all thread. Can make it out of all thread, not a problem. And you can see, once it's bolted down here, that's what makes it that right width. We have our cross supports to give it stability, and at the top, that is what fits underneath. As you can see up there, it fits underneath the table. So that basically is everything. The table is made with, again, with 2 pieces of deck board. Again, like I said, I'm going to be rounding off this corner. I put a piece of 2x4 here and one there. That give me my width. I put a piece of deck board across the bottom, the back end, but I offset it by 1/4 of an inch, which means when I lay a piece of drywall up on it, it should hold it while I lift the rest of it up into a horizontal position. Now, to lift it in a horizontal position and locked, I have a piece of 1x or 2x that I trimmed down on the table saw to the right thickness that my prop stands on, support stands on, and that's what holds the whole table at a horizontal and level position, which is going to be just slightly below the can lights, which means I should be able to very easily move this around. So I'm gonna take a break here, put this on a tripod, turn it back on, and you will watch as I disassemble this and get ready to move it into the room. And that's all it takes. Now, each one of these pieces will easily be moved into Mrs. Stadhomer's side of the barn here, and it can be reassembled easily enough right in there, and we'll be ready to go to when it's time to put up the drywall. So until then, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify the table like I said, and maybe even go ahead and get some of this over there.
I hope you've enjoyed this little project. I will do a review of it, tell you things that I liked, things that I might have changed if I had to do it over again. But thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe, give us thumbs up, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your local park ranger. Catch you the next time. Bye-bye.